some of the things that I'm talking about in my new book. Now, my new book is a book on written stretching exercises. It's not on Amazon quite yet, so if you're watching this before the first week in May, it's not on Amazon yet. But in the book, even though it's on stretching exercises, my true goal is to get people to really start connecting with their horses in a meaningful way. And that's really my life's passion, to help people understand horses, to connect with their horse in a way that really they didn't even imagine was possible, to learn lessons from the horse that they can apply into their entire life. It'll change so many things in your life when you can learn and be a student of the horse. Now, one of the things that I say in the book, I'm always kind of framing things. So one of the things that I framed is that the idea that the horse is always operating from their perspective. And this is so true. And it's our job as the rider or trainer or whatever we might do, handler of the horse, it's our job to see the horse's perspective. Because then when we see their perspective, we can actually communicate more effectively and more fully because we know where the horse is coming from. And I guess I'll use like an example of the different types of horses that we have when you go places. So for many years, I took students to horse shows, and each horse going to a horse show needs a slightly different thing. The same goes for like if you're going to clinics, each horse needs a different thing. So we have some horses that they need to be able to go around the grounds, whatever the new place might be, and they need to have time to just soak up their surroundings, take things in, be aware, to see what's going on, and to have that time to kind of go, okay, this is what this place is about, and I'm just fine with it. Then I have had a horse that he needs time, when you take him places, he needs time to go into like a round pen or a bigger area to be able to move around as he explores and he gets comfortable in his new surroundings. And that is what he needs. Now, how do I know these things? Well, I try to see how my horse is feeling about the situation. I try to be aware of like, what is my horse's perspective? And when I know what my horse's perspective is, then I can adjust to fit so that I can help my horse be more comfortable in their own skin. And horses are all different, and different days require a different approach from us. And as we tune in and understand that, like, I hate it when people say, my horse is being naughty, or my horse, boy, he was stupid, he spooked at X, Y, or Z. It's not, the horse, that's just where they were at that moment. To say that they're being bad or to say that they're not smart, no, these aren't things that we should be saying about our horse. They just weren't ready for whatever was happening. Now, how could we have set the situation up differently? I have another student that has a horse that when we go places, you take this horse and you go graze him in like one area and you let him just eat and chill and soak things up in that area, and he'll pick his head up, look around, and then he goes back to eating. And then you take him to another zone, another zone, another zone. We're setting things up though for this horse for success. If you set it up that way, he's super comfortable, super relaxed. He just settles right in. Now, that horse that I talked about that needs to move around, well, he's one that if you don't allow him to move around and you get on and you start making him do things, he gets really flustered. He gets uptight, he gets tense. And you're not going to have a very good ride. You're going to be dealing with tension. You're going to be dealing with a horse that's not able to focus on what you're asking him to do because he's got a lot of these emotions inside of him and he doesn't know how to deal with them. Now, on him, I can actually go around on a long rein and long trot and allow him to kind of, I trust him enough and I know him enough and I'm aware enough, but I can allow him to kind of look around as we're moving out, as we're doing some figures. I'm giving him a job, but still allowing him to take in the surroundings. And then he's really good. He's just fine. So there's going to be some horses that they need you to hold their hand, right? So they're a little bit more of a nervous type of horse. And they're like bringing a small kid to a place that they haven't been, maybe an amusement park, and the kid's scared, okay, or this horse is sensitive and scared. So what you need to do is you need to be the presence that that horse, and this is my goal with all my horses, I want to be the presence that my horse is looking to for guidance, for reassurance, sometimes for leadership. I want to be the one that my horse checks in. Now, the only way I can be that one that my horse checks in with is to be offering my horse the things that he needs on a consistent basis. Now, how do I offer my horse what he needs on a consistent basis? I figure out what's my horse's perspective, right? So I'm always watching and looking at my horse, and the feedback that I'm getting from my horse guides me into knowing what his perspective is. And when I know what the horse's perspective is, I can then offer him the things that I need. So, when you're riding your horse, let's say you are going to be making a transition, ask yourself, where's my horse at? Is he ready? Is his attention even on me? Or is he looking off into the field? All right? If your horse doesn't respond, but his attention was in the field, and you asked him to do something, guess whose fault it is? Unfortunately, it's yours, because your horse wasn't ready for the thing that you just asked him to do, because his attention wasn't on you. So what you would need to do in that scenario is you'd need to say, where's my horse's perspective right now? Well, my horse's attention's over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, yoo-hoo. I might pick up a soft little feel. I might ask him to flick his right ear back a little on me. And I might say, hey, are you ready for a little talk? We're about to do something. And then when he does, I can be really soft and quiet as a rider because my horse is ready. When we're talking loud, a lot of times we're asking for things that our horse isn't ready for. So if you're finding that you're having to use a lot of leg, use a lot of rein, your horse either doesn't have an understanding, which kind of goes into not being ready, right? Or your horse isn't ready. They're not prepared for it. You're not seeing from your horse's perspective where they're at so they're able to do something. A great example would be if you're like leaning back in a reclining chair, and you're watching TV or whatever it happens to be, and somebody says, quick, get up, get moving, and you've got your feet up, let's say. Well, it's going to take you some time, right? You're distracted. You're not thinking about getting moving. You're thinking about watching TV and being relaxed. And it's going to take you some time then to get up, get going, get moving, and go to wherever you need to go. Well, what if somebody said, okay, on the count of 3, I want you to get up and run to the kitchen. Well, guess what you do? You get ready. So they just changed. They shifted your point of view from reclining back and looking at the TV to, hey, get ready, we're about to do something. And then what you would do probably is you'd put the footrest down on your chair or take your feet off the footrest. You might scoot yourself to the edge. And then when they said, get ready, let's go, you'd be up and you'd be out of there because it'd be easy, it'd be fast, you'd be ready. So that's where seeing things from the horse's perspective, it really allows you to create good quality interactions each and every time you're with your horse because you're aware of where they're at and the things you need to do before you get to whatever your main goal might be. And my goal with the book and the stretching exercises is to start to get people to operate from the horse's perspective a little bit more. Because I think we come to our rides and to our sessions with our agenda and we're feeling our emotions, maybe our fears, our stresses, our tensions, whatever we might have, a grocery list, I don't know, whatever. But you're thinking about all these other things and you may not be thinking about where your horse is at, and then you go and you may not get the responses you're desiring from your horse. And then I feel like sometimes people blame it on the horse, where if we could start to just drop into the moment, be present, be aware, see things from our horse's perspective, it would allow us as riders, as trainers, because we are all trainers of our own horse, whether you like it or not. If you're riding or working with a horse, you're a trainer. So what it does is it allows us to become better and to be students of the horse. If you can learn to be a student of the horse and to learn from your horse what he is communicating to you, because he's constantly communicating his mind to you, constantly. That's another thing I have written in my book, that it's so important that we are aware that the horse is always communicating what his mind is to us, but we have to be available and aware enough to be listening. So anyway, my challenge to you before my next time hopping on, which will be sometime tomorrow, is when you're with your horse the next time, I want you to start trying to see things more from your horse's perspective. Try to see where his emotions are, his thoughts are, whether he's ready or not for whatever it is you might be about to ask him to do. I want you to be aware of these things and understand that if you get responses from your horse that aren't desirable, he's really just responding from his perspective, right? He's just responding from where he's at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and therefore it's your job to see it so that you can be better for your horse. Because when we're better for our horses, guess what? Our horses are better for us. So anyway, until next time, happy riding.